So, hello and welcome to the second part of our Excel basic course. This time the chapter General Structure and Operating Principle. So, how does Excel basically look, and how do you need to handle with it? So, let's take a look. So, here I have a short view over Excel. It maybe look different with you. For example, you will not have, for example, here Excel Labs. There's an add-in, and you will potentially also not have all those ribbons at the top, but it will basically look the same with you. So you have your blank canvas of squares. There are numbers here, there are letters here, there's something at the bottom, but not that much. There's a lot here, and you see there are a lot of things um, you can click on, and it's yeah. If you're familiar with the Microsoft Office suite, then you know that it's looks basically the same like PowerPoint or Word. But to know where you need to click and to know where to go, I will on the next slides go over detailed over the most important things you need to know where some things are in Excel. And we will then go, so first the upper part, then the lower part, and then what is and can be done with the middle part. So the blank canvas. So firstly, there's at the taskbar at the top, there's the upper part. So you know when there with the X, you can close it and minimize it and enlarge it and so on. Here you have your you can save, for example, if you don't want to want to use the shortcut. But more interesting it gets here. So when you click on File, you have your settings, you have your export things, you can see the previously edited workbooks, you can open a new empty workbook, and so on. The Home ribbon is I think I'm most of the time on the Home ribbon because there you have your formatting settings and further help, and you normally don't need to go that deep into the other settings, but it's important to know where to click to take them. So with insert, you can insert pivot tables, diagrams, illustration. If you want to insert special characters, I, for example, often use the sum sign. If I have some sums, you can insert it there. Draw is normally not relevant. I've never used draw. There you can do drawings, so like doing lines freely with your mouse or your touchpad and so on, but you will never need that, I assume. With page layout, this is also less relevant. You can set up the table if you want to print it out, and you can hide your grid lines. So as you saw this before, with the blank canvas, you can hide that there are lines. Here, formulas is a little bit more relevant. There you have the formula sorted in different categories. You have your so-called name manager. We will need the name manager in the expert course. You have your formula monitoring and the so-called calculation options, but this is also a little bit advanced. With data, you have your data retrieval, you have data types. You can sort and filter, but you can also sort and filter, as we will do at the later part of this course. You can also you sort and filter on the start or home button here. Then you also found your data tables. That's a quite an advanced setting. We will do this also in the expert course on the data ribbon. With review, it's also less relevant. You have, for example, a spells check, translator. You can do a comment or note overview and so on. And view is also less relevant because it's quite similar to page layout. But with on the view, you have your heading fixation functions. And as I've told you, your ribbon will be potentially look a little bit different because you can customize your ribbon. For example, I've here the so-called developer tools. This we will need for the VBA course, so the fourth part of this whole series of courses. So at the home ribbon, you found your clipboard where you can cut, copy, paste, transform the format. You can also do this with shortcuts or mouse clicks. And important here is you need to differentiate between transferring and copying, and also between copying data formats and cell contents. So you need to take a step back and take a look. Do I need or want to transfer the data? If I calculate something and only want to have the number or the text, do I need to want to transfer the underlying, for example, function? Or do I only need to do I only want and need to transfer the formatting? And therefore, you need to pay out and watch out. With font and alignment, you can somehow format the content of those blank canvas. It's basically the same as with Word. With number, we will stumble over this a little bit later. You can format the data in the cells on this blank canvas I've told you before. For example, if you work with currencies or you want to have the date in there and so on and so on. And with edit, you have further helps for formulas, for example, sorting functions or filter functions. And yeah, also here alignment will be a little bit different from Word for the formatting options, because you can align where the text output will be in your cell. Yeah, we will later go over this. And you see it's not fully enclosed here because I've blended out the with some boxes the functions you will not need that often. Here with insert, you have, for example, the tables before. You can insert their pivot tables and also referenceable tables within the workbook. We will do this in the expert course, I think. You can also insert here illustrations, for example, shapes or images. With charts, you can work with various diagrams, more on this later. And here with symbols, you can insert special characters or symbols and so on. With formulas here on the left, you see your formula library. Here you can find all the formulas sorted by a category. And for example, also the here with this FX sign, you can you have your function search. But I think I've never used one of this because you will know these formulas by heart at a certain point. The name managers, for example, we will need at the expert course. This will be very important here, but then you know it's under the formulas. With formula auditing, this can help with debugging, and with calculations, you can switch on or switch off the automatic calculation, and you can also do some things there. And here we are at the data ribbon. With data, you can get and transform data from various sources like the web or databases. Other files, we will also do this a little bit later, but there are people more advanced on this than I am. With queries and connection, you can refresh or retrieve the data from these sources before. You also see your data connections, and also later the yeah, the data types. You can use these data types, for example, the stock market data, currencies, and geographical data, but more on this later. Sort and filter, there are the more advanced functions than on the home ribbon. Yeah, you can sort and filter data like with criteria, alphabetically, and so on and so on. We will do this a little bit later. With forecast, this is a very advanced level. You can use this for analysis, and there are the so-called data tables, but we will do this a little bit later at the export course. And with outline, you can hide rows and columns using clickable elements if you want to structure your spreadsheet a little bit more, then you can use this. And we went over the top of Excel. You have also a taskbar at the bottom. Your current worksheet is normally highlighted in white. It can be renamed by double clicking on the name, or also with a right mouse click. It can also be colored differently so that you have at the bottom different colored workbooks, for example, in shades of blue, if you want to have it that way. On the plus sign, you can create a new spreadsheet. And here you see these arrows here on the left. You can, if there are more worksheets, then can be displayed in this table here. So you see there's only space for, let's assume 10 tables here if they're named like sheet 1 to 10, but you have like 20 sheets there, then you can move along them with these arrows on the left. The scroll bar on the right, you can scroll left and right inside this table, so the blank canvas we talked before. And with the plus minus sign, you can zoom within the blank canvas, so the table. Also, at the top of Excel, there is a so-called input line. You have a name field here where the A1 is currently standing. There you can jump to cells or name cells or cell ranges. This is also a little bit advanced, but only that you know. With fx, you have your function search also every time usable. And in the input fields, you can enter data, text, formulas, and so on and so on. And this can also be enlarged if you have, for example, formulas that are longer than one line, for example. And the actual table here, the actual table is structured of rows and columns. Rows run horizontally, so from left to right, and are numbered by number, so 1 to, I think, 1 million and so on. And columns run vertically, so from top to bottom, and are numbered with letters. And the cells, we will do more on this later, are addressed that way, that the addressing is the intersection of the row and columns, but more on that later. And there can be entered numbers, text, references to other cells, and so on and so on. And important to know, references to other cells or cell ranges and formulas will always start with an equal sign. And here you can see, for example, some things here, and we will now take a look at the actual Excel, how it looks. So as we talked before, here is our ribbon at the top. Here are different sheets. You see, I need this here because I have more than enough sheets to cover this area here. And here we have our blank canvas, so to speak, and I can enter there different things. For example, the current date. I'm on European date formats. Don't be afraid of it. You can enter numbers, also with commas. I can enter percentages. I can enter text, hello. I can enter so-called reference, beginning with an equal sign, so reference, for example, to here. We will more do something about this later, do something with it. And I can also sum this up, for example. We will do the sum function later, but you see there is a result here. So you can enter different things in this blank canvas and work with this, and this will be your play field, so to speak. And there's also, this is a little bit of an excursus, but I it took me, for example, one day to debug a problem I had a few years ago, because I wasn't aware of these limits, and so I want to share these limits with you. You have for every cell on this blank canvas, you have a limit of 32 something around 1,000 characters. We have a row limit in Excel of around 1 million rows. As when you take a reference to the first part of this course, I've talked about this. Some of the states had problems because they weren't aware of this limit, and the corona cases rows went out. So they lost a few cases there. And not only there's a limit for rows, there's also a limit for columns. 16,000 columns can be there for worksheets, and you can have up to 65,000 worksheets per workbook. So worksheets is the blank canvas there, as we saw before, where you can have here, so this is a worksheet, this is a worksheet, this is a worksheet, and the workbook is the whole file. But this number is dependent on your PC performance, and I've did a little bit of math. You would have 562 billion characters possible per worksheet, and 37 quadrillion characters then per workbook. And if you do the math with like how much space does any character then take on a workbook, you would have a file size of 37 million terabyte. And currently the world's most powerful supercomputer, it isn't at the date you will watch this video probably, but at the time I did my research, had about 9 petabyte of RAM and 250 petabyte of storage. And as 1 petabyte equals to 1000 terabyte, you could never store the largest Excel file if you fill every cell on this workbook with a character and up to the maximum character limit. So as you can see, with Excel you can possibly store a lot of data, and potentially your computer will run out of power before Excel runs out of its capacities. And so on. With this, we're at the last slide of this second part. Thank you for your attention. I hope this helps a little bit with how to work with Excel and where everything is. And with the next part, we will go over the addressing I've teased before. Thank you for your attention. I hope to see you in the next video.